Former President Jimmy Carter starts hospice care at home. Fetterman checks himself into a hospital for a stay that might last weeks. But our President Biden has received a perfect bill of health. New York Times says his doctor describes him as healthy and vigorous.
You know, got it over here.
What's missing from his health report is any cognitive test, something the doctor for Trump and Obama says he's been demanding and has been ignored. The physician, Rep. Ronnie Jackson, says it's time to end the cover-up.
You take questions, and I'm told there are going to be 4 questioners. Sung Kim, Associated Press. Sebastian Smith,
in front of the camera for press conferences, we can see what happens. He's literally got something wrong with him. Everyone in the country knows it right now. The unfortunate part is our adversaries know it right now too. Need one. If any president's ever needed a cognitive exam, it's this man.
If President Trump had a cognitive exam publicly released, why not Biden? GOP candidate for president Nikki Haley called for any politician over the age of 75 to be faced with a mental competency test. This drew some interesting criticism from CNN's Don Lemon.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What do you talk? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree with that.
That didn't go over too well, but what would I know? I'm past my prime. In a rare moment of seeming like actual humans, even White House officials had a laugh at Lemon's expense.
We're back to my age again. Yes.
Lemon has since apologized for his sexist remarks, but even a prominently liberal women's rights group, Ultraviolet, has urged CNN to immediately suspend him. New York Post reports even CNN staffers are calling for Lemon to be ousted. So from a demotion from prime time to morning show to bye-bye Don Lemon, the balloon gate distraction deflates this week after learning U.S. intelligence knew about the Chinese spy balloon before it even entered airspace.
The U.S. military had been tracking it for nearly a week before it entered U.S. airspace, longer than originally known.
And then waiting until it traversed the nation before finally shooting it down. Turns out the balloon's blundering Biden did take swift action on what were most likely just hobby balloons. Aviation Week reported this week that the Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade says its Pico balloon reported its last position in the same place and time that an F-22 shot down one of those UFOs. What does the White House have to say about possibly shooting down a hobby balloon worth as little as $12 with a $400,000 missile?
Yeah, we just can't confirm those reports or what the remains of that balloon might actually end up being, and we haven't recovered it, so it's very difficult till you can get your hands on something.
Was it all just another news media hysteria to cover up other PR nightmares for the White House? Former NSA contractor and whistleblower Edward Snowden thinks so. He says it was all to cover up the bombshell report put out by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh. The article alleges that it was the U.S. behind the destruction of Russia's Nord Stream pipelines at the behest of the Biden administration, according to his sources. Others say it allowed the media to delay reporting on what some are calling the Ohio Chernobyl disaster. When the networks weren't ignoring it altogether, even when Biden denied federal assistance, anyone who was concerned was labeled right-wing. The New York Times featured an article not focused on the community's concerns, but rather the danger in sowing distrust in the government. This goes directly against the tenet of journalism to be a voice for the voiceless and hold the government accountable. Erin Brockovich is skeptical of the government and has been a huge advocate for the East Palestine residents. Is she suddenly right-wing? Why didn't the New York Times spend more time speaking out against the arrest of a reporter who was trying to get answers about the chemical catastrophe? Did the New York Times not want to be a voice for the voiceless because the victims are not the right voices?
We have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities.
Oh, so since the Biden regime doesn't consider East Palestine a community of color, perhaps that's why federal assistance was originally denied. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that FEMA reversed its decision to provide assistance after Donald Trump said he would be traveling to the site of the ecological disaster in East Palestine, Ohio. The New York Times wants you to be more concerned about natural gas and its effect on the environment than this massive release of hazardous chemicals.
Headline: Russian pipeline leaks spark climate fears as huge volumes of methane spew into the atmosphere.
Every time.
What is methane? That's natural gas. Natural gas. Keyword: natural. Okay? It seeps out into the atmosphere all the time because it's coming from the earth, and it's natural gas, not man-made chemicals that are not meant to burn, that they just set on fire. No. Methane, natural, not chemicals in the sky. Again, made for World War I. Setting those on fire? No, it's not a problem. It's a sham. But see, this one has politics involved. This is a red state. This is a state where they don't care about. They'll rush FEMA any place. Well, not to the border here where we're being overrun. Not to Ohio where the skies are on fire. No. These people honestly don't care about any human condition.
It's no wonder that the American people have gone from not trusting legacy media to now knowing it is straight up intentionally doing the very action it accuses anyone who asks questions of doing: spreading disinformation. The latest Gallup poll shows half of Americans now believe news organizations intentionally deceive the public. The Gallup Night survey found that only 26% of Americans hold a favorable view of the news media, the lowest figure recorded in the survey's 5-year history. Bringing the receipts, what's ignored, sensationalized, misleading, or just plain false, that's your media malfeasance for the week. To support my work, subscribe to my locals, ChristyLeeTV.locals.com. For KLIM.news, I'm Christy Lee.